I now look to Dr. Loren Acton to close the case for the opposition and for the debate as a whole.
Ladies and gentlemen, officers of the Union, I'm honored to be here tonight in a room in which we are doing one of the best things that humans do. We are discussing in a logical way major issues. But I would point out that we have violated the first rule of the entertainment industry. The first rule is you save the best till last. You violated another rule, and that rule is age before beauty. I am one of the very few in this room who was an adult with a family at the time we landed on the moon. I'm a really old guy. Tell you a story. When I was an undergraduate at Montana State College, I met this young lady with the gray hair, and we married. She put me through my last 2 years of school. She gave me, as a birthday present, a dictionary, a nice Webster's dictionary about this thick that I still have. This was in the 1950s. The word astronaut is not in that dictionary. So I've seen a lot. But I've seen few resolutions which are as ambiguous as the one we're discussing tonight. This House believes that the future is in space. Have you ever heard a less specific proposition to debate? Certainly the future is in space. The future is everywhere. We are on a linear timeline. In fact, if you look out at the stars, the future there has already happened, and it's on its way to us in the form of light to say what happened in their future. So it's even the concept of the future is problematic. The concept of space is problematic if it isn't defined properly. Are you talking about the space between your ears? Or are you talking about near-Earth space? Or are you talking about the edge of the universe? Depending on how you define these terms, you can make any argument you choose. So, this gives us the liberty to define the question that we're going to answer, just as all the politicians do. Have you ever actually heard a politician being interviewed answer the question that was asked? Of course not. You talk about the thing you want to talk about. So I am going to talk about things that I think are very important, and a few things that haven't been brought up tonight that probably have much more to do with the future of humanity than some of the things we have talked about. But first of all, let me go out into space and utilize the knowledge that we have gained from science over the years, the use of the space between our ears, coupled with tools which let us extend our senses in creative ways. Thank you for mentioning President Kennedy. We're going to the moon and do these other things, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. I can tell you a story about another interview. Young man Loren Acton was going to college, undergraduate school at Montana State College, stopped and visited older brother Winston Acton, and I was asked, what are you going to study? I said, I think I'll study mechanical engineering because I'm interested in gadgets and how things work and that sort of thing. He thought a moment. He says, why don't you take physics? It's harder. Take the hardest thing you can find. It may open doors that you wouldn't open with the easier thing. You could always back off if you don't like it. Try physics. Well, I did. Turned out I liked it because for a person that is curious about how everything works, science is the racket for you. It really is. Well, if I hadn't become a scientist instead of an engineer, I guarantee that I never would have flown on the space shuttle. Now, having flown on the space shuttle, having seen the Earth from 200 miles up, give or take, I came to realize, as my colleagues here also have testified to, that this is a very special planet. And so if you want to interpret the resolution that the future of humanity is in space in terms of immigration and colonization, to me, this is a very easy proposition to be con on. Looking down at this planet with its resources and with its beauty and with its sustaining possibilities compared to anywhere else, why in the world would we even think of such a thing? Now, I'll give you one reason why we would think of it. In a few billion years, the sun will have burnt out the hydrogen in its core, and it will begin to turn into a different kind of star, a star called a red giant. It will begin to burn helium in its core, and as a result, it will begin to swell. It will swell to the point where planet Earth will be engulfed in the outer atmosphere of the sun. This will not be a very good place to sustain life at that moment. So, should we, as a species, be looking these billions of years ahead and trying to figure out whether we can go somewhere else? I argue that that's an interesting thing to think about and maybe an interesting thing to play with. But after all, we're talking billions, not millions, billions, thousands of millions of years. We as folks that can sit in a place like this and have this kind of a discussion have only been around for thousands of years. We've only been around, yes. Well, I'm not hearing so well, so I'll have to get close.
Would the attitude at the core of your proposition about the infinite possibilities of Earth, if we took that attitude 1,000 years ago, would we not be left in the position of the medieval peasant who never left his village, and yet by taking the opposite attitude has given us all that we have accomplished in the past 1,000 years?
Well, that's interesting. Perhaps I have not clearly enunciated my attitude. I'm not against progress. I'm not against change. In fact, change is absolutely essential if we are to survive. We were raised in an atmosphere of greed and fear, of prejudice against the other. And when we were small tribes separated by large spaces, that didn't work too badly. But it has worked very poorly in the most recent times. And so the thing we need to work at is not how to immigrate from the earth to somewhere else. We need to work on being better humans. If you look at the wars in Yemen, if you look at the issues that make life on this earth miserable for many people, they're not going to be changed by investing the space program money in some other endeavor. They're going to be changed by learning and by becoming better humans. And we'd better work at it, because we can't even agree on things that are obvious, such as climate change, things that threaten the home we have. So I urge this House to vote yes for space exploration, but to vote no for space immigration. Thank you.